ready to start event number 3. Here's what they are facing. So every athlete going at the same time here. And it's one of those rare occasions, and we saw this last year with the marathon row, everybody is doing the same thing. All right, so we are underway.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
All the athletes on the field at the same time, 100 of them, as we're going to cut down to 40 here pretty soon, as after last night's event, we went from 75 down to 50. Cole Sager out front for the men. Behind him is Matt Fraser in the white. The overall leaders will be the only athletes wearing white tops, so they will be the easiest to identify in this massive humanity. This is the opening lap. 4 total around this 1,500-meter track. And that looks like Lucas Hogberg, who needs to start climbing his way up the leaderboard. So Tia Toomey right now is the woman who is in the lead, looking to regain the top spot on the overall leaderboard.
Lucas Hogberg didn't have the best score in the Madison Tri-Plus when they competed in that last year. I'm wondering if it was one of the other movements that might have tripped him up there. He was 23rd, but coming out in the front right now.
Yeah, this is their first trip inside the North Park, and they have to add a single 10-pound bag. So Hogberg has done that, and he is off first. So Lucas Hogberg got into the stadium the fastest, about 5 minutes and 28 seconds it took him. Jason Smith buckling up, and here comes Matt Fraser. Still doesn't have that sternum strap attached. Joshua Wichtrup was also in that lead pack, is now just about everybody getting their way back into the North Park to end lap number 1, load their bags, and then start lap number 2. We just heard from Chase Ingram, who is out there talking to athletes, and he said he actually spoke with Sam Briggs, who said that the weight in the ruck actually favors Toomey more than it favors Briggs. Now, Briggs can run, but she said, I'm not a big fan of putting a bunch of weight on, and thinks that Toomey is actually going to do better in this event than she would.
Which surprises me, because I feel like I see a lot of posts from Sam Briggs with weight vests, but maybe she just doesn't do a lot with running. She does a lot with muscle ups, rope climbing, maybe not as much with running.
There is your leader for the women, and it is Tia Toomey, who comes in 3rd place overall for the women. Finished first in the opening event, 12th in event number 2.
So that was about a 6-minute lap for Lucas Hogberg. Really impressive, considering that he had just added another 20 pounds to his ruck.
Yeah, you're only adding about 30 seconds to your time.
Yeah.
Off of the first lap, lightest weight and the freshest that you're running.
Right.
Those are impressive splits.
So Emily Rolfe was the woman that we saw creeping up on Tia Toomey. She's out of Canada.
Qualified through the Granite Games, I believe.
It's her first appearance at the CrossFit Games.
And look who's there on the left.
Samantha Briggs. Now your usual suspects, women who would think to do well in this event. Kristen Holta, Sam Briggs, and Emily Rolfe have all closed the gap significantly on Tia Toomey as we are on lap number 3.
David's daughter.
That weight's just speaking to their soul right there.
This is about to be a real exciting
You're thinking you got a whole nother lap to go with that. What are we at, 50 pounds now?
This is lap 3, correct?
No, they're going into
final lap.
This is the final lap. Exactly.
This is how fast they're running. So they're at that 50 pounds. Lucas Hogberg is in the lead. Final lap, 50 pounds on his back.
And if you look at what happened with the teams earlier, with the lead that Lucas Hogberg has, it's highly unlikely that anybody's going to catch him at this point.
He's still running, or jogging-ish, you know?
I'm going to go with running,
the gait
Jason.
hasn't changed much at all.
He's been very, very smooth in all of this. I mean, you see as the weight starts to talk to your soul a little bit more, it changes your gait. And so you see some of them, they're shuffling. I mean, rucking is resistance training of a different form. You're just on the move while you do it, right? And so you're starting to see some of them, their bodies are leaning forward to almost look down and stare at their feet. And it's just they're trying to offset the load of that weight on their shoulders. He's just plowing ahead, looking great.
I think he just lapped one of the ladies.
Matt's doing great too.
Yeah, Matt Fraser's now kind of extricated himself from that pack of athletes that he was around. Willie George is right in front of him.
Jason, I love that you keep saying that the weight is speaking to your soul, because I'm pretty sure the word is screaming at your soul.
Matt Fraser trying to reel in Willie George, and Willie George in France. When Fraser had hair, people used to mistake Willie George in France for Matt Fraser every now and then.
Is that a true story?
It's an absolutely true story. And Hogberg is getting ready to lap some of the female athletes. That's Danny Spiegel. I think Paige Semenza behind her.
As of the last lap, I had Scott Panchik way down in around 40th.
So James Newbury could find himself in second place overall here. And depending on how much he beats Fraser by, if some couple more guys can get in there, Newbury might be on top of the overall leaderboard. But we got to see how this thing is going to shake out. Lucas Hogberg is going to lock up the event win. That is huge for Lucas Hogberg.
Still looks calm, cool, and collected.
Who had one of the biggest wins of his career here last year in the two-stroke pull, which is ultimately the result that gave him the tie break to put him on the podium in 2018. But Lucas Hogberg wins event 3 for the men and earns 100 points. And now we're going to start seeing some races to the finish line. That's Uldis Upniks. Behind him is Chandler Smith. And Joshua Wickstrom with a little dab.
A little dab.
As he comes across in second place. And here comes Uldis Upniks, who has separated himself from Chandler Smith. So Upniks looking at third place overall.
But this is a huge finish for Chandler Smith as well. This should easily move him right back up the leaderboard.
Upniks is across, Chandler Smith is across. So Smith in fourth place is going to earn 94 points. And now Fraser is across. Here comes Jacob Hepner. Now here's the pack of women who are in the lead. This is going to be a great race to the finish. So Emily Rolfe, Tia Toomey, Kristen Holta, and Sam Briggs.
Right now, as you're heading into that stadium, you're thinking slowly increase your cadence, slowly increase your stride rate, get ready to start pumping those arms for the sprint finish. Well,
you want to be careful, right? You don't want to start your sprint too early, because if you burn out, one of these girls will surely take you.
Emily Rolfe pulling ahead of Tia Toomey. Meanwhile, Brent Fikowski has come across the finish line. He finished 14th for the men. Rolfe, Toomey, and then Kristen Holta. How many times are we going to see Tia Toomey involved in the sprint to the end in a running event? So Emily Rolfe is going to be first into the North Park. And she will make the turn for home. Tia Toomey now starting to step on the gas a little bit. Rolfe makes the turn. Toomey behind her, Holta in third. And it looks like Emily Rolfe is going to earn her first career event win at the CrossFit Games. Toomey will be second. It's Holta in third.
Here comes Sam Briggs.
And now Sam Briggs making it across the finish line. And she is done. So that's huge for Sam Briggs. And remember, we talked earlier today about whether or not she'd be able to work her way up the leaderboard. Well, there you go. Here comes Catherine Davidsdottir, and the other woman we were talking about in that conversation was Sarah Sigmundsdottir. Have yet to see her. And Catherine Davidsdottir, the sled dog, doing work. She's going to get across.
Right behind her is Ben Smith. We talked about him needing to have another good finish.
You see them ripping those rucks off when they cross the finish line. They can't wait to get them off their backs, right?
Looks like Scott Panchik just got past there at the finish.
So Scott Panchik comes across.
And here comes our leader, Carrie Pierce.
Carrie Pierce will not be wearing that white jersey after this event. It's going to go back to Tia Toomey. Karen Freyova just came across the finish line. Carol-Ann Reeves and Tebow takes 11th, and here comes Carrie Pierce.
I think that's Brooke Wells and then Amanda Barnhart right behind them.
All right, Emily, in an event like this where it gets harder as you go because you have to keep adding weight, how do you find the energy to pull ahead toward the end?
So I just tried to stick up to Tia, stay on her back the whole race, and hopefully see if I had a better kick at the end.
You definitely did. Now, this is your first time here at the CrossFit Games, given the fact that we don't know what any of the events are, basically up until the moment that you do them. How's the experience been for you so far?
Oh, awesome. I'd rather not know. I'd rather go in blind and just hit it right away, yeah.
Why is that?
Just don't need to stress about it. We're all doing it anyways.
That's good advice for everyone. Congratulations here this morning.
Thank you very much.
Time to go fast. Event 4, it's the Sprint Couplet here on day number 2 of the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games in Madison, Wisconsin. That's James Newberry out of Australia, who currently sits in 2nd place overall. Travis Mayer is next to him, and then Bjorn Carl Gudmundsson after that.
Arguably, we constantly talk about what's the most grueling physical test of the CrossFit Games over the years. I'm honestly going to have to admit that this one might be the most mentally grueling one, having to do with that cut line, your loss of points if you finish low, all the different competitors, all those different factors kind of playing in, and now we're going to throw you out a 2-minute event right in front of a cut.
And it's that thing where you, like you said, mentally, okay, if I drop off the bar, I'm losing points. Now, if I drop off the bar, I might not stay in the competition.
Might not continue.
You're done, yeah.
10 seconds.
Grab your keys and head for the door.
Pat Vellner is inside the top 10, and he's hoping to continue his climb up the leaderboard. Heat 2 of the sprint couplet is underway. Saw a couple guys get off to a rough start. One of them, Matt Fraser, he is in the back, in the middle of the field right now, but he's quickly making up ground. Time to beat 1:27.30 seconds.
And I want to say at the very bottom that might have been Brent Fikowski first, or Samuel Quantis first to the rig. And what he did was he used that sled push technique that Neil Maddox used in 2014, where he was crouched up to the sled and low, whereas everyone's doing that full extended position. I'm actually surprised that nobody remembered to do that. And Samuel Quant just destroyed everybody on that first sled push.
So Noah Olson right now is your leader. He's battling with Samuel Quant, James Newberry a couple reps back, Gudmundsson and Hogberg in that lead pack as well. Cole Sager, he's on the left side of your screen, former football player. He's no stranger to pushing a sled around. But Noah Olson, as we take a look at Matt Fraser, who is inside 5 reps to go. Samuel Quant is off, Fraser is off, and now the race. Quant at the bottom of your screen. Noah Olson, I think, is in the middle of the field. We'll have to get confirmation on that, though. 1:27 is the time to beat. Looks like it's going to go down. Samuel Quant is gaining ground. And I don't know if that was fast enough to beat McLeod's time. It was not. So Noah Olson is going to take 2nd in the event. Now Matt Fraser's still on the field. James Newberry is right next to him, so Newberry's going to stay close to Fraser as Matt cannot get rid of the pesky Australian. Cole Sager, Adrian Moonweiler, Scott Panchik are all in. Now Fraser's across. Here comes
Chandler Smith.
Newberry is in, so just a frantic finish here, but Matt McLeod is going to win the event, and Noah Olson in his career has not won an event at the CrossFit Games.
He's got a lot of seconds, though.
A lot of seconds, and that one's certainly going to help him.
Well, here's the craziest part is, like, yes, look at Noah Olson's time, but look at the times of your 3rd and below when you're looking at the 1:45 mark, because we had guys, at least 7 athletes in the first heat that were faster than that time. So the first heat actually looked faster than the second one.
I agree. And then also to your point, Chase, you see some of those guys, it looked like an empty sled, and they just pushed it entirely across without stopping, and a lot of these guys made it look a lot harder. They had to have multiple stops.
You're tired, but you're stoked. It is your first heat win at the CrossFit Games. What does that mean to you?
I actually don't think it was my first heat win, but I thought it might have been my first event win. It was close. It's been a good year so far. I'm enjoying this games more than any other, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Second place in the event because we saw first place in the first heat, but I mean, you're still in great spirits, and if this is such a great experience for you, what's making it special or different from your previous games appearances?
Yeah, I finally feel like a veteran this year, which is really cool. I think because there were so many new people that we got to meet this year, which was amazing. People from all over the world, so I'm just taking a step back and trying to enjoy it and still kick butt at the same time.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Love y'all.
What do you think these women learned, if anything, from watching the men?
Be ready to suffer.
Yeah.
And go.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see how many of the female athletes choose to go unbroken on the bar muscle-ups as well.
Definitely don't attack the top end of that sled on this first push.
We will move down to 30 athletes following the sprint couplet. We are underway. 134.07 seconds is your time to beat. It belongs to Colleen Foch. 172 feet down on the sled, and then 15 bar muscle-ups, 172 feet back.
Down sled all the way to the rig.
The first few athletes finishing up that sled push. Brooke Wells in the middle of the screen looks to be one of them. And now onto those 15 bar muscle-ups, and you just cannot waste any time. In the last heat, we saw 2 100ths of a second, mean the difference between first and second. Danielle Brandon, she's up there with Jamie Green, Amanda Barnhart, Laura Horvath, and Tia Toomey.
Amanda Barnhart had your fastest sled push across the field in just under 20 seconds.
So that makes sense, because if you remember the chaos event from last year when Barnhart got on the slug, just demolished people on that thing. I think she passed like 6 or 7 people as Tia Toomey continues her bar muscle-ups. And now it's Jamie Green back on the sled. Danielle Brandon is just about done. The Green is losing ground. And if I had to guess, I'm going to say that's Amanda Barnhart. Amanda Barnhart, I hope I am right about this. Once again, just doing some grunt work, and Amanda Barnhart wins the sprint couplet. Jamie Green is going to finish second. Danielle Brandon, we're going to take you seriously. You finished third in the event. Anna Fradkow is fourth. Keep an eye on now who's winning the battle between Tia Toomey and Kristen Holta. The Toomey is in. I have not seen Kristen Holta's name come in, so Tia Toomey looks like she's going to hang on to the overall lead. Good news for Thorisdottir as she's in. So is Laura Horvath, Carrie Pierce, now Kristen Holta. But Amanda Barnhart, my goodness.
She only had about a 4-second differential between her first sled push and her second. That's incredibly small considering how we've seen athletes get stopped on that second sled push.
We talked about Haley Adams. She's still on the field. She and Mackenzie Riley. Riley's at the bottom of your screen. So Haley Adams was fourth coming in. That's most likely going to change now as she is towards the back of this second heat. And Mackenzie Riley will be the last woman across the finish line. And that'll do it for women's event 4. But Amanda Barnhart, once again in the North Park on something that just requires pure grunt work.
Amanda, from everything we've heard so far, this event just hurts. There's no better way to say it. So going into it, what did you have to do to make sure that you came out on top?
Honestly, I wasn't expecting that.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just didn't know what to expect at all. But the sled was pretty light, so just kind of went hard. Tried to breathe through the bar muscle-ups, and then just pushed as hard as I could on the way back. I got good leg power, so it's kind of my jam.
To say the least, for sure. Now, looking ahead to the weekend, I mean, knowing that this is the first type of event where we've seen cuts, what kind of additional pressure does that put on you and your performance?
It's in the back of your mind, but I'm really trying not to think about it. Basically just doing my best, and if I do that, I should end up where I belong.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.